Hello everyone, today I'm going to talk about governance as a third alternative. If governance is a third alternative, then what is the first alternative? What is the second alternative? The first alternative is bureaucracy. That means state-oriented alternative. The second one is market-oriented alternative. The third one is governance. What kind of an alternative is this? Is it different from the first and second alternative? Let's check it out in this video. Governance as good governance, governance as new public management, governance as networks. We're going to see that actually the first two meanings of governance is not that different from new public management indeed. So the original meaning of governance lies in the meaning of networks, but we have to explain the first two meanings as well. First dictionary meaning, governance. Governance is the action or manner of governing a state, an organization. For example, we can say a more responsive system of governance will be required. Governance is the act of governing. Then, governance is different from government. Governance is what a governing body does. For example, what government does, what an NGO does, what an international organization does. In this sense, governance is the result of actions taken. When we discuss governance in particular organizations, the quality of governance within an organization is often compared to a standard of good governance. According to Leftovich, the systemic use of governance means more than government. So it's a broader concept than government. That means there are more actors who are influential in the system. The political use of governance refers to a state enjoying both legitimacy and authority. So here we are talking about the legitimacy. So when I say a government is in line with the term governance, that means that government is legitimate and it has democratic authority. For example, when I say government is in line with the term governance, I mean legitimate and democratic authority exercised by the government. That means they legitimize their public policies with reference to, for example, multiple actors. They give voice. They negotiate with them. They take decisions on a basis of this, for example, consultation mechanism or participation mechanism. Thirdly, when I refer to administrative use of governance, I mean an administration who has certain characteristics like openness, transparency, accountability, efficiency, effectiveness, etc. In this sense, governance is a kind of more responsive, more efficient, more open administrative system. If an administration is applying governance principles, then that means that administration is open to public, is very transparent. That administration is producing or providing public services efficiently and effectively. Now, I would like to talk about three different meanings of governance with reference to good governance, new public management, and networks. According to World Bank's good governance components, the primary principle is public sector management. Here, World Bank would like to see a referee state, would like to see a gendarmerie state, would like to see less public administration, a more private sector, more private firms' involvement in the economy. That's why, in the sense of good governance, there is a clear rejection of Keynesian policies and priority is given to neoliberalism. The main mission of government is to create an enabling environment for the private sector. Secondly, legal framework for development of the private sector. Another mission of a government is to provide stable and predictable economic environment. For whom? Again, for the private sector. Thirdly, accountability. Governments are accountable to the ruled, the people. Finally, transparency and information. Access to information is very important. That's why governments should be open to people. Their data, information, knowledge produced on the basis of data and information should be shared with the actors, with the people, with the citizens, with the private sector. So good governance means creating an effective political framework to private economic action. Here, state administration should be efficient, should be abide by the rule of law. It should have stable regimes. It should be respectful for a strong civil society. And what is the solution according to World Bank to achieve efficiency in public services? World Bank encourages competition and markets. The World Bank promotes privatization of public enterprises. World Bank would like to reform the civil service by reducing bureaucracy. The World Bank would like to introduce budgetary discipline, and they promote decentralization. As you can see, actually those principles are in line with the principles of the new public management. Good governance, in this sense, marries the new public management in accordance with the advocacy of liberal economic policies. New public management has two meanings. The first one is corporate management and the second one is marketization. As we can see, actually, marketization is very similar to good governance of the World Bank. When it comes to corporate management, they want us to introduce private sector management techniques to the public sector. We have already talked about this in my previous video. New public management would like to see steering rather than rowing. What do we mean by that? Steering here is a kind of regulation, but rowing means interventionism, Keynesianism, for example. So here when we say less government but more governance, we mean more private sector, more non-governmental organizations. We have talked about good governance and new public management. And we have seen that there is a similarity between good governance and new public management. But isn't there any other alternative? According to Rhodes, governance can be a third alternative in terms of networks. What do I mean by three alternatives? Imagine a lake for fishing. If it is managed with reference to market mechanisms, then you would have to pay for fishing. If it is regulated by the state, hierarchy, then you have to get permission from the state to enter. In networks, it depends on mutuality between actors. It depends on trust. You don't have to pay. You don't have to abide by the authority. You have to recognize reciprocity. It is based on diplomacy. You don't have to go on a court. You don't have to abide by rules and regulations initiated by the state. You create your own rules. You are not dependent on a state. You are deciding the rules and regulations. Who is going to go fishing? When? No one will force you. You will decide. The actors will decide. That is the difference between market hierarchies and networks. As a result, governance can be seen as a third alternative in terms of its third meaning, networks. In terms of good governance and new public management, no, it's not a third alternative. Just it's a continuation of neoliberal options. But in terms of networks, yes, it might be seen as a kind of third alternative. Next week, we are going to discuss postmodernism and public administration. Thank you for listening. See you later.